antidiuretic hormone, also known as the ADH, is termed as vasopressin. It is a posterior pituitary hormone. This vasopressin in human beings contains the amino acid arginine. That is why it is called arginine vasopressin, also known as AVP. In pigs and other mammals, the vasopressin contains lysine instead of arginine, and it is called lysine vasopressin or LVP. But in human beings, the ADH or vasopressin is arginine vasopressin. This hormone is synthesized and secreted by the neurohypophysis under the influence of the nuclei from the hypothalamus. The nuclei of the nerve cells in the hypothalamus in the preoptic area in the supraventricular and the paraoptic region, they terminate in the pituitary gland, and these axons secrete the ADH, and this ADH is released into the circulation, which acts on the renal tubules to increase the reabsorption in the distal convoluted tubule. As we have seen in the animation, this is how vasopressin controls the renal reabsorption of water. Look at this highly illustrative graph. On the x-axis, we have got the plasma osmolarity in milliosmoles per kilogram of water, starting from 275, 280, 285, 290 and 295. Let us say the plasma osmolarity falls to a situation of around 280. Instead of being 285, which is normal, let us say the plasma osmolarity goes by 5 units, goes down, and that is the point A at which the threshold for the release of ADH starts. At that point, the ADH will get into the circulation from the posterior pituitary. The secretion of the ADH goes on increasing as the plasma osmolarity goes on increasing. This is the level of the plasma ADH in picograms per ml. So when we have an osmolarity of 285, there will be 4 picograms of ADH in the blood. When we reach a point of 290 milliosmoles, then the ADH level will be around 8. When we reach a value of 295, the plasma osmolarity of 295, then the ADH of the plasma will be 12. Because here there is an increase in the osmolarity of plasma, there is a need to dilute the plasma, there is a need of excess of ADH, so more of ADH is produced, more of water is retained, the osmolarity is brought down by diluting the plasma. So when the plasma gets diluted, let us say to 275, and the plasma osmolarity is lower than normal, the ADH secretion is totally stopped and the ADH level is 0. That means there is no conservation of water because there is already excess water and plasma is dilute. So the ADH is totally stopped. So this graph in nutshell illustrates the response of ADH to the plasma osmolarity. Point A is the point at which the ADH stimulation is occurring and the ADH secretion starts coming into the plasma. Point B is the area at which the hypothalamic thirst network is stimulated to increase the fluid intake so that the plasma osmolarity can be maintained and the plasma can be made more dilute. And beyond 295, the plasma osmolarity is much higher, and we require several mechanisms including the ADH to control such high plasma osmolarity. So this is how the plasma osmolarity and ADH are interrelated. Let us look at the renal excretion of water. Glomerular filtration rate is normally around 120 ml per minute. So if the GFR is 120 ml per minute per hour multiplied by 60 minutes into per day 24 hours, the total amount of glomerular filtration occurring into the Bowman's space in the glomerulus is 172 liters to be precise. So around 170 liters of primary urine, this is called the primary urine, is filtered at the glomerulus. Our body's total water itself is around 35 liters. How can we afford to excrete 170 liters in 24 hours? We will just die in a few hours if the glomerular filtration is allowed to proceed like that without any reabsorption of water. But that is not the case. The final urine is only around 1.5 to 2.5 liters per day. In the worst scenario, it is around 2.5 liters. In the normal situation, it is around 1.5. So, a fluid of 170 liters that is filtered is finally brought down as the final urine of 1.5 liters, which means 99% of the filtered water is reabsorbed, must be reabsorbed. Only 1% is allowed to be excreted. Let's say that if a patient has got a problem of polyuria, it doesn't mean that he has to have a gross derangement in the reabsorption. If the reabsorption is reduced from 99% to 98% or 97%, the urine volume goes to 5 liters or 7 liters. So a small shift in the reabsorption will produce a large quantity of terminal production of urine as the final urine. Out of the total amount of water that is reabsorbed, 99% of that water is reabsorbed, I told you. Out of this 99%, 70% of the reabsorption occurs in the proximal convoluted tubule of the nephron itself under the influence of the aquaporin 1. Aquaporins, we have already seen in the animation, are the channels which allow fast movement of water across the cell membrane. For this work only, Peter Agre et al. Are given the Nobel Prize. This aquaporin 1 is present in the proximal convoluted tubule, and this allows a faster diffusion of water from the tubular fluid into the interstitium. 70% of the fluid that is filtered is reabsorbed then and there itself. The rest 29% of reabsorption occurs in the remaining part of the nephron under the influence of aquaporin 2, 3 and 4. Only 1% of the filtered water is allowed to pass as final urine. The reabsorption of water in the distal convoluted tubule and particularly in the collecting duct is under the influence of antidiuretic hormone. The antidiuretic hormone mediated reabsorption of water occurs in the collecting duct. That we have seen in the animation, and also we will discuss a little further